So can deaf people poop and wipe on their own? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to go over whether or not deaf people like myself can do things. I actually got this video idea from Jessica Kellgren-fozard because she posted a picture on her Twitter, a screen cap of Google, and she was writing something like, can deaf people, and there was a list, and when I saw that I was like, I need to do a video. I don't think she's ever done a video, and if you see my friend Chrissy, aka the Essential Sign, do a video, we already know that we plan to do these type of videos, and you know what, nothing's completely original. So, I do have other videos similar to this. I did a video titled something along the lines of myths about deaf people, which I will have linked somewhere over here, but let's do a fresher version, shall we? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna Google some stuff, I'm gonna read, you know, the line, and yeah. Yes, I'm dead, sorry. Can deaf people drive? Let's find out. Can deaf people talk? Well, we answered that already. Can deaf people read? Hold on, I got a book. Let's do this. Alright. Battle Royale, page 65. Now we will wait 2 minutes. Then the next one will be female student number 1. Misaho Inada. This routine continued ruthlessly on and on like this. Alright. There we go. But actually, to be serious, there is a very strong case of deaf people not being able to read at more than a 3rd grade level. There's a lot of information about this on Google, and I've roughly touched on this before in past videos. Deaf education as a whole is really on a decline. You know, deaf schools are being shut down, and you know, even at some deaf schools, I've been to some where, you know, there were a lot of hearing staff and they really didn't know how to teach deaf students, and so it's a lot of mess, and you know, that's a whole thing for a whole another video. But I do highly encourage you to check out some information on that, and hopefully we can change that sort of thing. But overall, yes, there are deaf people who can read. Well, those are the top 3 on here, but I want to see if there's anything else. Can deaf people laugh? I don't want to fake laugh, but but yeah, that's possible. You can also find me laughing at things in other videos. Can deaf people listen to music? Okay, I was trying to write can deaf people poop, but this one says do deaf people's ears pop? And yes, when I'm on a flight, they are always popping. I don't really see how our ears would not be able to. Oh wow, if you look up can deaf people poop, I'm on this thing. Okay, so here's a couple of questions that we see right here. Can a deaf person talk normally? I mean, like hearing people? Yeah, it requires a lot of speech therapy if someone does go through speech therapy. For me, I grew up with a crap ton better hearing than I do now, and I've been talking since I was, 3, 4 years old, and I've never gone to speech therapy, so I've never really had an issue. People in real life never ask me, where I'm from or any of that, they don't make comments on my voice. It's only on the internet that it happens. But of course, you will find many other deaf people that aren't as good at speaking, and that's just life. Sometimes they just don't do well with speech therapy, and you know what? That's why we have sign language. But at the end of the day, this does not mean that you need to take the opportunity to tell someone, hey, you talk really good for a deaf person, or I never really thought that you would be deaf because you talk so well, because it's nothing more than a backhanded compliment. Can deaf people hear their thoughts? I didn't know how else to do that, so I was thinking, but I can hear my thoughts, I can hear my English thoughts, I can see my ASL thoughts. I don't know how it is for other deaf people. I would imagine those who grew up signing probably thinking, sign language, and probably other oral mainstream deaf people would be able to hear their thoughts. I just don't know if there's any science that says deaf people can't hear their thoughts at all. So maybe that's the case for some people, but I wouldn't know. But for me, I can hear my thoughts. And maybe that is a case of being able to hear better before. I don't know. Can you hear if you're deaf? This is quite the controversial question, because when I do collabs with other people, I get accused of faking so often because I will be saying, yeah, I can hear a little bit sometimes. Deafness is a spectrum, which means that yes, you may be able to hear. There's a very small percentage of deaf people who absolutely cannot hear a single thing. You also have to take into account frequencies, pitches, things like that, the kind of hearing loss that somebody has. So I have people who on their audiogram, is that what it's called? Audiograph? What is that word? It just escaped me. But on their test result, they might have absolutely worse hearing than me, but they can hear things that I can't hear. And there are just other people that hear more. Deafness is a spectrum, and if you do come across somebody with zilch hearing, absolutely none at all, it is a rare case. But also, if you find a deaf person with a cochlear implant, they 100% don't have hearing left. Unless I'm wrong, unless there is some rare case. But all the science that I have personally read says that when you get a cochlear implant, your cochlea hair cells or whatever are burnt off, so that you don't get any hearing at all. If there is someone with a cochlear implant that can somewhat hear even after it, you can let me know, but I don't think. Nothing I've read says that. Can a deaf person whistle? Unfortunately, no. How do you whistle? I don't know. Do deaf people realize they're making noise? Yes and no. There are some cases when I know something is gonna make noise, like let's say I have this lip gloss and I put it down. I can actually hear that, but I can also feel the vibrations of it. And actually that makes me think, am I actually hearing the sound itself, or am I hearing the vibrations or feeling the vibrations, and I already know what it sounds like, so my brain is just telling me that I might be hearing it? Does that make sense? It's simple science that if something touches something with force, it's going to make some sort of sound. Would everybody be aware of that? Maybe not. However, there are times when, for example, if the one time that I did a collab with Chris and we left the audio on, or I left the audio on a video, and we were signing to each other, and noises were being made, little small noises from both of us. I don't think I realized that until the edit, and there may be some random noises coming out of my throat here and there that I may not notice. Overall, I have an idea that I'm making noise when I'm, putting things down, when I'm hitting something, things like that. Do deaf people get paranoid when farting in public? I guess I do. Sometimes, I'm oh, shoot, I need to, walk away really quickly so nobody knows. Because, yeah, I'm very well aware of when I fart, because you feel it. So, I think there was a meme going around or a teacher made a post about how her deaf kids didn't realize that farts make noises, or was it she didn't realize it? I don't know. And let's do one final question. Are you allowed to drive if you are deaf? Yes and no. It depends on the country that you are in. In the United States, it was made legal in 1968, 1969, one of those, for us to drive. In places like India, I think it was only just a few years ago that you were allowed to drive, and I believe in countries like Saudi Arabia, you are not allowed to drive yet. I could be wrong, but there's other countries where, no, it's illegal to drive, or yes, it's illegal to drive. Controversial topic, I actually made a whole video about this during 2017 Vlogmas. The responses were mixed. A lot of people were like, yeah, I don't see why deaf people can't drive. I mean, hearing people have so many distractions, and most of the crashes are by hearing people. I've experienced that myself, actually. And research has been done, stats have been printed that say deaf people are generally safe drivers because we pay more attention to the road. Because driving is more visual than it is auditorial? Is that the word? But a lot of people get concerned. Well, what about ambulances? Well, what about Sherry beside of me blasting her radio that even I can feel it? I felt my driving neighbors radio before. And you know, they're not going to be able to hear the ambulance. They're not going to be able to hear horns honking. I've seen people on their phones talking. I've seen people with earphones in. They're not going to be able to hear it either. So I mean, we have radios in our car. If that was really a concern, would we have radios in our car? But that's why we have mirrors. We have a mirror over here and 2 mirrors over there. So we are supposed to be checking our mirrors regularly, right? If you're not doing that, hearing people, I would highly suggest that you do that because that is very important, and you will be able to see when a police car or an ambulance or a fire truck or some wild child behind the steering wheel is coming at you. So you move over. I am a very safe driver. I have never been in any accidents that were my fault. People I know who are deaf are fantastic drivers. But yes, depending on the country, we are allowed to drive. Alright, so I hope that was a little bit entertaining, but also educational. I wanted to kind of do both. You know, there were some things that, you know, made me laugh a little, but then there were some things that made me laugh a little, but also things that were serious. So I hope that was a really good mix. If you've seen any other wacky accusations, let me know in the comments. If you are interested in translating this video, I have a translation link down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.